Hi, it's great to finally be back. The fascis is one of, if not the most enduring Roman symbol that has survived since antiquity. Its meaning has changed over millennia. It has been used by liberty movements, law enforcement and the fascist movement of Italy, who even derived its name from it. But what was it? Where did it come from? And primarily, how was it used by the Romans? In this episode, I shall address these questions and try to shed some light on the symbol. And we will concern ourselves purely with its manifestation in antiquity. I am your host Morten Eriksson. Welcome to Ancient History. The fascis or fasces in plural derives its name from the Latin word for bundle. To be precise, it was a bundle of rods bound together, often incorporating an axe, sometimes two-headed, sometimes single, with its blade clearly visible. The symbol had Etruscan origin, the Etruscans being a people and culture that used to live north of Rome and the Latins. However, the double-headed axe, the labris, probably had Greek origin. But although highly probable, there are very few actual evidence that underlines these claims. It came out of Anatolian and Minoan cultures, and it is in fact one of the oldest symbols from ancient Greece. The Romans called it bipennis. In 1898, archaeologists found a small fascis in the excavations in Etruria, strengthening the theories about the symbol's Etruscan origins. The artifact was a small double-headed axe surrounded by a small bundle. The find was made in Vetulonia, and the dating places it about 650 BCE. This is interesting since it places it more or less exactly when the symbol is thought to have been adopted by the Romans. Tradition says that Rome's first Etruscan king, Tarquinius Priscus, who ruled between 1616 and 579 BCE, was the first to have used the fasces in Rome. Therefore, for the Romans, the fasces already early on came to be related to a magistrate, with his power and jurisdiction. The rods in the bundle, usually made from birch, soon became thicker, and they were bound together with the axe with a leather ribbon, giving the arrangement its distinct cylindrical shape. At specific occasions, during the triumphs, the fasces could also be adorned with laurel wreaths. Later in history, they seem to have transformed into a simpler kind of cane or whip. Its earliest function was to exercise power. In short, it was nothing less than a portable kit, a Roman Swiss knife of sorts, used for flogging and decapitation. It was carried by a group of civil servants called lictors, a sort of bodyguard and crowd control accompanying the different magistrates wherever they went. As such, the lictors had the mandate to arrest people and to punish them. The rods were hence used to lash disobedient people, and the axe for summary executions. However, as early as in the 5th century BCE, when the laws of the 12 tables were erected, summary executions of Roman citizens became unlawful. The so-called fasces litoriae, however, continued to exist and serve as a symbol of official authority and right of violence. But over time, when we reach the Republican era, their use was both tradition and surrounded by various protocols of conduct. Depending on your status as a magistrate, you were entitled to, and as it seems obligated to, a certain number of lictors, that is, fasci carriers. The two extremes were dictators and curule aediles. The dictator was allowed to have 24, and the aedile to have 2. One part of its transformed symbolism in Republican Rome was the fact that the axe became single-headed. In the era of the Roman kings, the axe had been double-headed. But with the Republic, the axe was split in two, and symbolically each blade was given to one each of the two consuls, since they were not in absolute power. The consuls were consequently entitled to 12 lictors each. The axe part of the fascis, however, was not allowed inside the pomerium, the sacred inner city boundary of Rome. Hence, here the axes were removed, also symbolizing that inside the city the power resided with the people of Rome, that is, the Senate, rather than in the hands of the magistrate. Adding to this, the fasces were to be kept lowered to show respect for the Roman citizens. And the splitting of the axe gave the consuls the opportunity to carry one each rather than to share, in turn, as they had done before that. Although there were always exceptions to these rules. For example, the dictator in troublesome times were allowed to carry the axes inside the pomerium, since he now held ultimate power. And during imperial times, the emperor was in a constant state of dictator. As the amount of different magistrates grew over time, so did the amount of lictors carrying fasces in the city. An estimate for the year 191 BCE arrives at the number of 132 lictors in total, in the city and in the field, considerably more than the original 12 each for the consuls. These numbers continued to grow. Recently found numbers from the time of Emperor Vespasianus, that is, around 79 CE, gives us the number of no less than 370 active lictors in Rome. The use of lictors, however, was not strictly limited to the traditional magistrates. After the fall of the Republic, their use was expanded. For example, Livia, the wife of Augustus and mother of Tiberius, was entitled to one lictor when she moved about in the city. This was possible since she had been made priestess over the deified Augustus. Agrippina, Nero's mother, was in fact entitled to 2 lictors, as well as her own German bodyguard and a personal detachment of praetorians. In other words, these security guards were all over the city, having the same reputation, or even worse, than modern-time security guards, not seldom being accused of brutalizing persons at a whim. In fact, they were renowned for their unprovoked brutality. It is easy to understand the negative connotation that the symbol had in many people's minds. And to no one's surprise then, the Christian polemics hold them at the same level as torturers and executioners. And many non-citizens in the provinces seem to have nurtured the same loathe for the fasces symbol, as it was raised on monuments in their conquered cities. Its symbolic power was so great that it was used on art, on coins, on sculptures and buildings, to remind the viewer that Roman might was present. To summarize, the fasces became a symbol of power, and in a highly violent society like Rome, it also became the symbol of violence and oppression. Nevertheless, the bundle came to symbolize, and still does, strength through many. One rod is easy to break, but taken together, strength emerges. Hi again. If you like this episode, hit that like button, share a link with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you would like to help me to make even better documentaries about the past in the future, please consider joining me at Patreon. I have put a link to my site in the description below. See you soon.